Everybody, and welcome back to the Unitarian Congregation of Men and Uxbridge. My name is Matthew Marion, and I'm going to be starting off today with I Should Care by Sammy Kahn. Good morning.
Good morning. As we gather again at the Unitarian Universalist Church in Mendon, welcome on this beautiful fall day, although it does appear to be getting a bit cloudy now. May we enjoy the beauty of the fall weather. May we find time to be together, at least virtually. May we find time to work for a better world. I invite us to hear today the words of Annie Dillard as we gather. We are here to abet creation and to witness to it, to notice each other's beautiful face and complex nature, so that creation need not play to an empty house. It is our custom as we gather to kindle a flame in our midst, a flame long the symbol of the presence of the holy, a flame, a symbol of the presence of the knowledge and wisdom, a flame kindled in a chalice, a shared cup. For we gather each Sunday as a community seeking knowledge and wisdom, seeking that which makes our lives and the lives of others both whole and holy. I invite us now to say the words of our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. If we were holding regular services, this would be a time that we would invite you to come forward, lighting a candle, and if you wish, sharing a milestone, a joy, or a sorrow. But since we are not all present physically in this place, I invite you to write down joys and sorrows, submit them through the chat or by email, and as we approach the end of the service, we will share those joys, those sorrows, those milestones that have come in during the service. Today, rather than a story, I would like to call attention to one of the things that has happened this week, and that is the 19th anniversary of the Twin Towers bombing. At that time, we swore that those who were killed would not be forgotten, that their names would be read, that we would hold them in our hearts and minds. It's appropriate and good that we do so. But I also call us to remember those things about that bombing which have had adverse effects even to this day. Our declaration of empires of evil in the world, our separation from other communities has damaged us greatly, and the so-called Patriot Act has reduced our freedoms. May we always remember that we need to fight back to make for ourselves and for all people a world that is welcoming, a world that is free, a world that calls us all to be neighbors, to be brothers and sisters. I invite us to pause, to look into our hearts and minds and find those things which bring us strength, which bring us joy. May we hold on to those things which strengthen us, which bring us to happiness, which bring us to being a more important person in the fight for justice, for love in this world, for love of this earth. As the seasons begin to change again, as the hot summer turns to the cooler fall and then winter, may we recognize the changes that also occur in our own lives. May this be a time for rededication. May this be a time for seeking to find love for ourselves and for others. Amen. As I think all of us know, last Monday was Labor Day. Labor Day used to be an important day celebrating particularly organized labor. But now it's basically the end of summer. There are no Labor Day parades. There are no celebrations of union organization and activity. And that's not how the day came to be. The first governmental recognition of the importance of organized labor came through municipal and state laws. Between 1885 and 1886, there was a big push to make recognition of labor an important time. The first bill was introduced into the New York State Legislature, but the first to become passed into law was in Oregon on February 21st in 1887. And during that year, 4 more states passed such laws: Colorado, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York. By the end of the decade, Connecticut, Nebraska, Pennsylvania had followed suit, and by 1894, 23 more states had adopted this holiday. And on June 28, 1894, Congress passed an act making the first Monday in September of each year a legal holiday in the District of Columbia and Territories, and then in all of the states. But the organization from labor didn't start then. It started centuries earlier. The guilds, the unions, other gatherings became important. In much of the 19th century, many things that we think of as important professions which require college education, such as law and medicine, were basically artisan tasks. To become a lawyer, you had to apprentice under another practicing lawyer. And most doctors learned their trade by working with established doctors. Other crafts and businesses also had organizations requiring a membership in order to practice or do the work. Most of those have ceased to survive, but one that has survived, I suspect you all know, was the Masons. The building of the great cathedrals and buildings of stone. It required knowledge. One stone placed in the wrong spot could cause a building to collapse. There was a union of masons where people learned the trade, where people were recognized as master builders. The Masons have survived by changing. They no longer build buildings, but they do build. They build character and other things in their members. They use the symbols of the old trade to help to do the things that need to be done in a new time. Those organizations, when they became labor unions, made a real difference in how work was done when labor became factory work. I think we need to step back a little bit and look at the value of labor. It's gotten so that if you want to be recognized as competent, you've got to go into some particular activity, such as a politician, an inventor, a sports figure, an entertainer. But where would we be without those people who do necessary, but perhaps repetitive jobs? Jobs that are not as well recognized. We often don't even know the processes that have gone into packaging food for us, making cars. And if we want to know just how bad things can get without trained and competent workers, all we have to do is watch a couple of old I Love Lucy shows. Organized labor grew in the beginning of the 20th century. It allowed for employees to bargain as a group with their employers. It saw to it that a person was not fired simply because the boss didn't like them. It saw to it that people could not be fired just because they spoke against the way things were being done. They made a real difference. The use of strikes allowed increases in pay and better working conditions. If we look at the auto industry, those unions were so good. They would choose one brand of cars and go on strike if they couldn't get a contract that they wanted. That strike might go on for weeks or months. And when they bargained with the next company, you could be pretty sure that the bargaining would go quickly and would look much like the bargain that had come with that first company. organized labor made a difference, it was not without its abuses, but it made a difference. And that difference was possible because we were pretty much dealing only with companies that worked in the United States. But now with World Trade Organization, a car can be as easily made in Mexico or Canada or Japan or Korea as it can in Detroit. The large companies are able to simply close plants all of the great things which came out of unions and the ability of unions to fight successfully with large companies has been dwindling. It used to be that if you worked in a company that had a union, even if you didn't want to belong to the union, you had to pay union dues. If the union got an increase in wage, it didn't apply only to union labor. It applied also to those other people who were working there and paying their dues. But the courts have said that that's no longer legal. If you don't want to belong to the union, you don't have to pay dues. You can simply get for free what others have fought for with their pockets and their walks. It's strange. Well, those unions in big industries have been dwindling over the years in their membership. There are new types of unions forming. We're seeing student teachers in colleges and universities that are joining unions. We're seeing athletes. We're seeing so many other types of people binding together to work to make their lives, their working conditions, their compensation better. And I must say that in a world where so much of business can be transacted anywhere, membership in unions is desperately needed. We must have people who will stand up for making things happen in their own communities, not exported to another country. But we need unions that are willing to take stands even with their members. The coal mining industry unions should, decades ago, have started to work to find other types of businesses for their union members, because the coal mining industry should have by now completely disappeared. It is dangerous both to those who work in the industry, and it is devastating to this planet, which we must call home. Let's work to make sure that the work of people in factories, people in fields, people doing the common everyday work that is needed to keep this society alive, are recognized, are celebrated, are rewarded. Let's make this a time when new ways are found to replace industries which should fade away. All those people who made buggy whips at the beginning of the 20th century have found new trades by now. Maybe those who mine coal, who do other jobs which are destructive to society, need to find new ways and need help to find those ways to make of this world a place where all people's labor is recognized as valuable, where all people are treated treated well, are treated and with dignity and respect. Let us, in this time when so many people are suffering because they cannot work with this epidemic, a time to find ways to make sure that all people who wish to work can survive. May we take this time to make a difference in working places so that they are safe. All we need do is look at the meatpacking places where the coronavirus was at 25, 30, 40% of the workers. Things need to be safe. And sadly, there are many industries that without pressure will not work to make workplaces safe. Let us, in Labor Day week, celebrate labor, celebrate the things that can make all work valuable, to make all work visible, and to reward all workers. From Sonia, a candle of remembrance for a client who passed away this weekend, also for her staff and clients fighting through COVID-19. A very special candle, a candle for Charles, who is trying out new activities and new opportunities. Great. I'm glad for you. Two of them for Charles, because next week is his birthday. Great. Thank you, Charles. And a candle for others in our congregation whom we can't physically be with, who cannot physically be with us. a candle for this world so suffering with disease and with problems. And now, as we lit a candle at the beginning of our service to call us to remember the value of dignity, of respect for people, a candle for wisdom and knowledge, a candle for all the good in this world. May it burn on in our heart, calling us always to be our best selves in a world where things are often difficult.
Thank you, Ralph. I'm going to be ending off today with a personal composition. This will be what life's supposed to be. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, guys.